Payson will be joining us. This is Roundtable 34. I've done 34 of these. Impressive. This is why I picked so many people, because at least somebody drops out. This time 2 people dropped out, and Payson says he'll be here. So we still have 6 movies to talk about tonight. Should be an interesting conversation. Mark couldn't be here. Jake Meltzer couldn't be here, but we do still have their movies to talk about. Want to get off the top. Me and Kirk have decided to, as of right now, suspend the top 100 roundtable. The engagement was a little low on like getting people to show up every week and every month, but that's fine. No big deal on that one. It's just me and Kirk just don't want to be the only 2 talking about these movies, so we're going to put a pin in that. I'll probably release the overall list on the Facebook page at some point. But tonight, we're back to normal roundtable. I think just what it boiled down to is people just want to pick movies, like pick their own things to watch. So it was hard to pick like favorites and then watch about movies and then talk about movies that people have talked about a lot of. So it kind of fell on deaf ears. But we're here. Bar, you're back on Roundtable. What did you bring for us and why?
So if you've noticed the picks of movies that I've done throughout the show, I started in like the 50s and then slowly it just started kind of moving up decade-wise. Not on purpose, just kind of happened to be that way. So this time we're going with the 80s, and I picked 1984's A Soldier's Story. And I picked this movie because it's been a while since I had read the play, but I love the play. And I also just really like this movie in general, and I think it deserves more eyes.
Yes, you brought this to me. I've watched it prior, so shocking that it was on a play. I would have never saw that coming from you. But
it's a Pulitzer Prize-winning play, too.
Oh, that means 0 to me. Next up, Scott back for another episode. Scott, what'd you bring for us this time? How are you? And then why did you bring what you brought?
You don't really have to ask anymore how I am. It's been I haven't been on all 34, but I don't know, probably a solid.
I just want to make sure you're doing good.
25 or so. Yeah, I'm good. I'm still here. I didn't drop out this time. I have been that person before, so apologies on that. But no, I'm here this time. I will definitely be here next time too, because we have a really good lineup of movies for next time. But this time I brought The Straight Story. This is David Lynch's movie, 1998, I believe. And did you say 8 or 9, Bar?
9. It's 9. Don't worry about it.
What?
Just going.
Okay. Oh, I'm
99.
I'm phrasing. Yeah, 99. But it's an interesting movie to talk about because it's one of his 2 movies where it's like, this was directed by David Lynch. And also, now that Cody doesn't hate Mulholland Drive anymore, it seems, I figured let's mix in another Lynch and see if we can slowly start converting him.
Let me tell you, when I saw the movie pop up, and then I said, then I saw who directed it. I went, oh no. The least David Lynch movie I have ever seen.
Yeah,
and I think that's the point. But we'll maybe talk about that later. I'm here. I brought the Lincoln Lawyer. Since I have a lawyer, I would like to bring the Lincoln Lawyer to talk about it. This is a movie that I know it's spanned a TV show. I've never seen the TV show, so I can't confirm or deny how good that is. This is a movie that I was surprised I liked as much as I did. I shouldn't be surprised because it's a courtroom, but like, I think it's really underrated. So like, Montgomery, outfielder from Texas A&M, going to the Red Sox. All right, let's go. Payson's here. So I picked Lincoln Lawyer basically because I don't think it gets talked about enough, and I honestly think it's a pretty good movie. So want to get some more eyeballs or just have a conversation about it. Not here, Jake Meltzer. He was supposed to be on the call. He had something come up. He picked The Last Dragon. 1985's The Last Dragon. Let me tell you, the year is very showing in that. And then the next one is Mark Menchaca, which, man of the people, just man of the people, wants to bring joy and happiness to everybody. The movie made by like Wes Anderson's son or whatever, but Paddington 2, like let's be real, it's very Wes Anderson.
It is very much
for me.
so. We'll talk about it more.
But overall, Paddington 2, which just pisses me off because like I'm not saying Paddington 1 or Paddington 2, which one's better. I just hate that he picked the second one because in my brain, I need to watch the first one before I watch it. But regardless, and Payson's here from Arizona Traffic. What'd you bring? How are you doing? Why'd you bring what you brought?
Doing well. It's funny that Mark made us all feel good with Paddington 2. I brought an equally feel-good movie with Park Chan-wook's Oldboy. So I brought it because I think it's one of the better movies of the 21st century, and I think more people should watch it. So, yeah.
That is fair. Yeah, next month's roundtable is setting up to be insane. I don't know all the movies off the top of my head, but like Paris, Texas.
That was my pick, yeah. We
Paris,
have Quiz
Texas.
Show, which Cody is bringing. Yeah. The Contender. Brian's bringing something called Detention. And
Detention.
What?
There's one
and
other.
then Mark Menchaca said, fuck it, Magic Mike.
Magic
So,
Mike, yeah.
Whatever.
You
I've
should
never
pick the
seen Magic
second one,
Mike.
but yeah.
Can you even
I've never
stream
seen
that?
that.
I thought that was like a famous one. I thought The Contender was a famous movie you could only watch on like DVD, but maybe it's now streaming. So,
well, we'll find out. We just picked movies this past 2 days, so if it needs to be altered, we will alter it. But so tonight we're going to start. We're just going to jump right in to my movie because some of these movies made my brain hurt. Let's just say pretty much one of them only made my brain hurt, but one of them. We'll talk about. We're going to start with Lincoln Lawyer. Lincoln Lawyer. Did everybody see Lincoln Lawyer prior to watching it today?
it's my first time.
First time.
Yeah, Scott, get out of here. First time.
Yeah.
Is this your first film starring Ryan Phillippe?
No.
I don't believe so. I would have
Okay.
Intolerable cruelty exists.
I would have seen.
Yeah.
I would have Ryan Phillippe.
No,
that
cruel intention.
I thought this man was going to be like
Oh, yeah, cruelty. Sorry.
they tried to make him the thing. I think I don't know where
They
it
keep
all went
trying to
wrong.
make him the thing.
Maybe some of it was in this movie that they tried to make it. I really enjoyed it. So Scott, you saw Lincoln Lawyer prior, I'm assuming. He's having some Wi-Fi issues, I'm thinking. So, Bar and Payson, what were your overall thoughts for a first-time watch on Lincoln Lawyer?
I liked it. Knowing that this movie was like the what sort of kicked off the McConaissance in like the early 2010s. Watching this movie, I totally understood because it does seem like McConaughey getting out of that like rom-com run he did in the 2000s and trying to get to a more like serious role. And I loved seeing him this grounded. Like in terms of courtroom dramas, like I didn't think it like breaks any new ground, but like I always describe these movies as like really solid, like fast food movies. By that I mean it's just an easy watch, and I was just thoroughly entertained the whole time.
I think that it's really good. I like a lot of the performances. I think that there are some good choices. I think I have two big problems with the film.
I love your eye rolls.
One, I don't necessarily love the ending. I think he was trying to cram too many things into the last 15 minutes. And I think some of the direction is both trying too hard and not trying a lot at the same time. It's a very good TNT movie for me. Like if it's on TNT and it like I'll be like, oh, The Lincoln Lawyer, of course I'll put this on. But I don't know if it's one that I'm necessarily going to be like, where's this streaming?
And that's fair. That's fair. Scott, you saw this prior, right? Or just
Yeah. I saw this movie probably when it came out. I also have read the book. think I probably read the book first, but I at one point I was reading a lot of Michael Connolly, who read the book. His series. There's about, at the time there were about 4 books, I think, with Mickey Haller as the main character, Lincoln Lawyer being one of them. And I read all of those. Now I think there's been some that have come out since then that I haven't read. And he also does the Harry Bosch novels, which was made into a long-running TV series. Yeah, so he has a really good sense of like LA atmosphere and everything, which I think you can definitely get in this movie, like all the different sort of personalities, whether it's, you know, the rich people like Ryan Phillippe and Frances Fisher, his mother, and or like the, you know, private eye like William H. Macy. I mean, everybody's in this movie. Every actor is in this movie. Like it's crazy how deep the cast list goes, to the point where Bryan Cranston shows up like an hour and a half into the movie, and it's like, wow, Bryan Cranston, like he's showing up in like this almost throwaway role as a cop here halfway through. So it's a stacked cast and everybody delivers. Yeah, I agree with what everyone else is saying. It's a perfectly solid legal thriller. It doesn't get into the upper echelon. I mean, we did our courtroom dramas on YLS, I don't know how, probably 2 years ago at this point, and I didn't even really think about putting it on my list, but like it's a solid movie. Like I enjoyed rewatching it. McConaughey is great. Yeah. I mean, this role is perfect for him. And I also like the perspective of him having to defend somebody who he knows is guilty. I mean, spoiler alert, but he knows basically is guilty. That's something that you don't see portrayed in, you know, that many legal thrillers. So it brings an interesting tension to these courtroom scenes, because it's like, you know, he's the defense lawyer. He believes in like giving everyone a defense, but it's much easier to believe in that when you have the deniability of, I don't know whether my client is guilty or innocent, right? In this case, he knows that his client, you know, did it, and he knows that his client is not a good person at all. But because of, number one, his role, and number two, because, you know, bad things might happen if he does not defend this guy, he has to go forward with it. And so that creates an interesting dynamic in the courtroom scenes that you don't always see.
I like that idea. Like that whole angle, I think, is actually like really, really good. For me, the problem with that is, I don't know if it's the performance or the character himself, but that role kind of became almost mustache twirling, over the top evil at some points, where I was kind of like, if we toned this down a little bit, once again, I'm still not sure if it's performance or character, I'd be a little bit more invested in it. But there were points where I was just kind of like, all right, where's Batman when you need him? Like when he just shows up at his house.
That's all lawyer.
Well,
that would be dumb if Batman showed up. That's weird. I don't disagree. I think this is a problem in a ton of movies that have twists and turns. Like getting all the twists and turns to go to a cohesive end that doesn't feel rushed and like brakes slammed on and we're closing 7 different loops at one time. But overall, I think it's really good. I think, yeah, McConaughey breaking away from that rom-com, basically saying that he's just not accepting him, and this is like one of the things that launch him. I think he's very convincing as the lawyer. I love the side of like defending a guilty guy where you're sitting there. It gives a little bit of injustice for all, like environment, not to the same level, of course, but you have that feel. And then overall, you have a stacked cast that overall works, and I think all the twists and turns kind of will just work for me. You said it best, was the TNT movie. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Thank you so much. That is not an insult. That is a compliment. That is better than an Oscar for me sometimes, because like some of the movies, Shawshank Redemption is a TNT movie. I just want that on there. Like those movies that just can be popped on and just watched. Those work really well.
Gladiator 100%.
It does suffer from like 2011 like interesting choices, like casting choices. Like they could have made some better calls. You know, Trace Atkins didn't really need to be a biker.
However,
you know,
Shea Wiggum as the jailhouse snitch was perfect.
The last one.
yeah.
Also, we don't have to harp on this, but Marissa Tomei at 47, beautiful woman. Just want to point that out. Yeah.
We got our Brian Michaels
lies
comment of
detected.
the night. Yes, she is. Yes. Thanks for filling that quota.
We were thinking it.
Yeah, she's very attractive. But yeah, and again, I did not bring this movie to like move needles and cross like, oh my god, I'm going to shake the foundation that all your movies have built on. No, I just was like, I haven't watched The Lincoln Lawyer in a while. I'll watch The Lincoln Lawyer now and make other people watch it. Anything else from this movie that like kind of you don't like? I think I really like William H. Macy's character throughout this movie. I think he does a really strong job.
I didn't even know he was in
character.
this movie.
Yeah, again, people just pop up and you don't. It's like, wow, they're in this too. Like people, I think this movie's kind of forgotten, but it's kind of shocking when you see the cast. I mean, I think I agree that it has probably one twist too many at the end with the mother getting involved. Probably a little bit too much, and maybe a stronger actor than Ryan Phillippe would have done something else with this. But I mean, I like the winding plot. I like the way that his old case comes into play.
I loved that aspect of it.
No, yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. Like for a movie like with this level of plot, like because we're saying obviously Ryan Phillippe is like guilty, but it's not quite that clear. Like he's innocent of the case he's defending, but you learn that he's guilty of a previous case. And I think with a plot like this that could have gotten really complicated, I think the movie does a really good job at keeping you focused and like never like losing the audience. Like you said, Scott, I do think towards the end, I think with you learning that the mom was involved, I think the movie just wanted to get like one last little thing on the audience, and I just don't think it really needed that. And that was probably like one of my only complaints. Something I did want to ask, just because I've never seen a movie portrayed like this. Usually when you see like a judge in a movie or in real life, the judge is usually like supposed to be like an impartial voice and like an impartial eye. I've never seen a judge portrayed this way of like, it seems like they're very much on McConaughey's side. Like, Scott, you would obviously know a lot more about this. Are judges more like that than I would believe, or no?
Well, we actually talked about this last roundtable too when I brought the Rainmaker, because Danny Glover's judge is so biased towards the defendant or towards Matt Damon in that movie. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what specific part you're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about like the way that he rails on Josh Lucas for bringing in the snitch or whatever. I don't think that anything there was out of line, because Josh Lucas basically sabotages the whole trial by bringing this guy in, and it's the judge's job to sort of, like you say, play the neutral referee in the whole thing. And now, because of this decision that the prosecutor made, this very stupid decision, they've had this trial that's made it almost to the very end of the trial. We're about to give it to the jury. And it's like, well, we can't give it to the jury now. We have to throw the whole case out. So we've just wasted our time, and it's all because of you. So I think I don't even think that that's bias. I think that's just his, role as sort of protecting the integrity of the courtroom and the trial process.
I think it's also hard in like political movies to like. I think they all struggle with this sometimes. It's like the judge seems how it's written to be one way or the other, but overall it's just like what they're given at that point. But I've heard before from like judges in my town or whatever, like they have certain like, I wouldn't say characteristics, but tendencies of like how they know what to say to the judge to like sway it if need be. Not saying they're going to rig it, but like they know what they like and what they don't like, basically.
This is different. This is different than what's portrayed in the movie, but like I have probably been to 9 or 10 different counties in North Carolina to court. And there are some of these rural counties where it's like, if you are not a lawyer from that county and these judges do not know you, then you can pretty much give up on your hope of getting like a fair shot at it, right? If you're going against the DA who's in there every single day, you know, and you're not one of the public defenders who's also in there every single day, it's like, how dare you, you know, city boy, think that you can come into our courtroom and tell me how to, you know, decide the law, and then, you know, takes lunch at 12:30 and goes and plays golf with all the DAs. So that type of stuff does happen, but that's not really what's portrayed in the movie.
Yeah, but overall, and I think it's like, honestly, like, I know Ryan Phillippe is not like the greatest actor. I think he's kind of just perfect for this role. Like,
Yeah.
If you put a more likable actor in there, I don't know like how that fits. He's already like a non-great actor, so him being a scumbag also just kind of helps, because you don't have like an emotional connection to him as an actor or anything, you know? Because like Denzel's a criminal in a movie, you know. I'm still I still like Denzel more than I should, even if he's awful. So
I think Ryan Phillippe is okay. I just don't know.
yeah, he's not. He's really not, but that's fine. Like, you know, Hollywood tries to make these people larger than life and are better than they are, and they just fall flat on their face most times. Okay, we'll get scores on Lincoln Lawyer. I'm at 4 stars. It's a great TNT. I would, if it was on, I'd watch it, no problem. We'll go to Scott.
Yeah, I also give it 4 stars. It's very competent, you know, meat and potatoes entry in this genre that I love very much, and McConaughey, you know, is as good as it gets when you have when you're talking fictional lawyers. So
we'll go Payson.
I'm gonna go 3.5. Like you said, I think it was a really watchable movie. I just can't quite get it to like the great level of like a 4-star. One last thing I want to say: there's a scene where Matthew McConaughey's character is in the bathroom, doesn't wash his hands. That's disgusting. What are you doing, buddy?
Maybe his penis is clean. You don't know that.
Whoa. Okay, fair.
McConaughey's.
Actually, that man doesn't believe in deodorant. That's probably a really good call. And it's also probably it's probably pretty hot. So probably a bad idea. Okay, next movie. What? Oh, sure. What's your score? You're gonna give it a good score. Oh, that's not even bad. Okay, I'll take that.
No.
Any day of the week. How you talked about it, you kicked on it and pissed on it. I figured you were going to give it 2.
There was a lot of good elements to it.
Next up, thank you, Scott Harvey, for bringing the least David Lynch movie that I've ever seen onto Roundtable.
Yeah.
Why?
It's pretty strange.
Go ahead.
It's pretty strange when you can watch. I don't know if it's still on there, but when I watched this movie, it was on Disney Plus, and I just thought watching a David Lynch movie on Disney Plus is one of the funniest things that you can imagine. But yeah, no, I think this movie is so interesting for that reason, because David Lynch is known for taking small town America, right, and discovering all of the darkness and seediness within it, and Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet and all that sort of stuff. And this is kind of the opposite of like, we're going to take small town rural America and find like the goodness and selflessness and everything that is still there. And I think it's helpful that he had a true story to work with here. And so, yeah, it's, you know, a lovely, moving movie about a guy. If you're not familiar with the movie, it's a true story about this guy, Alvin Strait, who is, I don't know exactly how old he is, but 74, yeah. He's elderly, his health is failing. He lives in Iowa with his mentally disabled daughter, who's Sissy Spacek in the movie. Richard Farnsworth plays Alvin. And he gets word that his brother, who lives 240 miles away in Wisconsin, is sick and possibly dying. He's had a stroke. And so he decides that he is going to go to see him. They have had a rift and have not spoken in a long time, and he's going to go see him. But he can't drive because of his health, so he decides he's going to take his riding lawnmower, which only goes 5 miles an hour, and he's going to make this, you know, very long journey. And so it's very much a road movie. It turns into a road movie, and it's sort of episodic an episodic tale of this guy, this older guy, interacting with the various characters that he comes across along the way, and learning from them, but also imparting wisdom on them, and eventually making his way. He accomplishes his goal, right? He reaches his brother in the end. Again, spoiler alert, but it's a lovely movie. I mean, it really sees the best in people. I think Richard Farnsworth is giving an incredible sort of humanistic, naturalistic performance. If you've looked into anything about this movie, he was actually dying. He had terminal cancer when they even started the production of this movie. So I think that adds something else watching his performance when that he knows that he's dying. But I love all the different episodes and all the wisdom he imparts on people, and then the ending is absolutely beautiful when he finally reaches his brother. But I want to know what y'all thought.
So I looked on Letterboxd and saw the ratings, and I said, "Y'all are fucking delusional as hell." Like, what are we talking? So when I watched this movie, I had multiple feelings going through it. One, on the nose, straight story. You're 100% right. This movie should have divulged into every other movie that guy travels down the road. You're saying like the wisdom and meats, right? I agree, but like if he met like interesting like characters, no, it's just slice of life, like random people that are impacted and stuff like that. But there's no like real standout for me of any of them. He's just going through life, just going on this tractor, which is like normally the angry, grumpy fucking old man that I am. I'm like, this is boring as shit. I'm up. For some damn reason, this man on the lawnmower doing jack shit worked so well. It's one of the most confusing. It's my most confusing movies of the year because it has a recipe of being the worst pile of garbage that I should have hated. But for some reason, I'm like, and the ending, like I'm like emotional watching the ending of it, like how I was like.
When Harry Dean Stanton looks out there and sees the lawnmower, and he's like, "Did you come all the way on this lawnmower?" And then they just have that silent look at each other at the end. I mean, that is cinema right there. Like, that is just beautiful.
And I was like, Scott is going to rip me apart because when I start this, I was like, there has to be more. A tornado sucks this thing up and throws it around. He gets robbed. 3 people die. Like, he swerves in front of traffic. Something happened. Nothing. Just on the road again. And somehow just worked. Like, there wasn't the slapstick goofy guy that he runs into. They're like, oh, let's go. It's just like a real just slice. But it wasn't like movie comedy relief. It seemed like just real people that you would come across on a journey like he was doing. And that's why it worked. If there was a guy that was just out of life or not fitting into this thing, I think it would have really derailed the movie. But for some reason, the damn tractor, like riding on the lawnmower, just worked for some reason. So I was blown away. It's one of the most confusing movies that I really liked. Bar, did you see it before?
No, I have not. I knew
okay,
about
since
it.
Since I cut across, just go ahead. What do you think? Were you the same line with me?
In some regards, yes. Like, I kind of knew what the story was about beforehand and like how simple it really kind of is, like in the grand scheme of things. So I think I just went in with the right mindset. And yeah, this movie really worked for me. It is so utterly charming. Like, I think that this movie lives and dies on Richard Farnsworth's performance, because that performance is it's genuinely.
You think?
Well,
who else would it fall on? The lawnmower?
John Deere himself. Yes.
That is one of the like. I love you. That is one of the. Of course, like that's just. You know what? Malcolm X relies solely on Denzel Washington's performance. Yeah, you know what? I don't disagree.
Hot take. I really think Locke really relies on Tom Hardy's performance.
I was gonna say the steering wheel.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck you all.
Fair enough.
But Richard Farnsworth genuinely is giving like a performance that I absolutely, utterly fell in love with. Like there is such humanity and sincerity in his performance, even at the beginning of the film when he's on his back, and it's like the two neighbors are there. One's just like, "Come on, Alvin, get the hell up," and the other one is freaking out. He's like, "Shut the hell up."
It's almost not even a performance, right? It reminds me of the people in like a Sean Baker movie or something where it's just like you can't actually coach this, you can't actually direct this.
It's like the side characters in Nebraska for me. Like,
exactly. Like, he's just existing. Yeah, you know,
he's what I want to be at that age. Like I live for that, just yelling at people.
There are some like scenes in particular that I just absolutely loved. Like the one like road trip character that I really genuinely liked a lot was the young runaway. And like when he wakes up and he just sees the pile of sticks bundled up, and I was just, after like the story that he told her the night before, that was just such a moving, endearing moment. The moment where the belt in the tractor is broken and he's just going downhill, legitimately started to get kind of tense, and I just really thought that was just really good direction. The one moment of this movie, though, that I was like, did we really need this? And the one moment where I went, there's the David Lynch I know. That's David Lynch, is the woman who hits the deer. I'm watching that scene going, what the fuck just happened? Like, that was like the one scene in the movie.
He got bored. He got bored in his own movie. He just did. There's no... You know what we need? A fucking deer hit right now.
A deer, where a woman screams about how she has to drive 40 miles back and forth and hits 3 deer every single time that she's on the road. And her car looks fine every time. Yeah, so that was like the one moment of the movie I didn't really love. But that ending is absolutely perfect. And the score in this is just absolutely gorgeous. It quickly became one of my favorite scores that I've heard in a long time. Yeah, this movie it's really, really charming.
Yeah, and again, Angelo Badalamenti, who composes all of Lynch's stuff, including, you know, Twin Peaks, and like somehow he produces this really, you know, sort of winsome, romantic score.
Yeah, it's so funny. So watching this movie, I had never seen it. I'm a fan of most of David Lynch's stuff that I've seen. Twin Peaks is my favorite show of all time. But yeah, whenever I'd heard the people talk about this movie, I'd always heard like this is David Lynch's most like straightforward movie. And when I started watching it, calm down. When I first started watching it, I was like, once I think you get past the first 10 minutes, which I think still has like a lot of that like David Lynch-esque acting of like not everyone seems like completely like a normal person. And I think like once you get past that and once you get to Alvin on the tractor, yeah, I think this just becomes a really like beautiful, heartwarming tale of just this guy who knows doesn't have too many years to live and just wants to do one more thing like for someone he loves. Everyone's talking about like these scenes where he meets these characters, and as much as I do love those, honestly, most of my favorite scenes came from just watching Richard Farnsworth on the tractor, and you see the vistas of the Midwest, and you see like these beautiful sunsets. You see the mountains, and yeah, that score by Angelo. You say his name one more time, Scott.
Angelo Badalamenti. Yeah.
Yes, I had his name. My phone locked, but yeah, beautiful score. The scenes where the scene where he's talking with the pregnant runaway, the scene where he's talking with like the veteran, like I think they're just beautiful. And yeah, it's tough to explain how effective that ending truly is without someone going to watch it. And if you are going to watch it, don't look up the straight story ending. That is maybe the worst way to experience this ending. I think it's an ending that really like works in the context of the film with everything that you experienced. And you just realize like how meaningful this journey was. And while it wasn't like the toughest journey and like he was like constantly bombarded by like awful people. Like it's still long. He was only going at 5 miles per hour. Couldn't have been easy for him. And yeah, I think this was an excellent film.
Well, if you haven't seen the movie, there's 3 ways this movie could end. 1, he turns back around. 2, he dies. 3, he makes it. So those are the 3 options. I also think what really helps with this movie is it's in the Midwest, like, because that's where I live. So it's like it's the same reason why Nebraska really works for me, because I know people like that and I've been around people like that. So it's like a connection and it's makes you feel lonely. Yeah. Also, I just want this on record. Fuck everyone that tells you, like, hey, man, if you're going to be able to accept a David Lynch movie, watch The Elephant Man because that's the most thing. No, watch this movie.
Yeah.
I think this
people
movie,
forget about this movie, yeah.
This movie is way more accessible into, like, but again, Elephant Man's like a little bit into his weirdness, like, overall.
Yeah.
This is not. But again, if you don't like weirdness, you're not going to like this. This movie just absolutely doesn't feel anything like it, and I was absolutely blown away by it. Great choice. I was really nervous. Yeah.
I love when he tells the cyclists, he says, like, the worst part of getting old is remembering when you were young. Yeah, that line hits hard right there. Like, just those little nuggets like that really stand out.
Yeah, they do such a good job of, like, passing the old guy, like, tugging at the heartstrings, because, like, you watch this movie in, like, 10 years from now, like, your feelings of this could even be more heightened. Like, the older you get and the people you lose and the stuff like that, I think this movie can have, like, a lasting and, like, real emotional effect on people, which is a good job for him. I say this every time. David Lynch is the guy that has the videos of people, like, him yelling at people, right? Like,
oh yeah,
okay,
and doing the
I wish I liked him more, his movies more, because I appreciate a good yell. Anything else on this before we move? It's a pretty straight story, so I don't want to, like, take too long on it.
We talked about the ending, but seeing Harry Dean Stanton pop up there at the end is, like, just a nice surprise, because I had no idea he was in this until I was watching it for the first time. Cody, we're going to get a lot more Harry Dean Stanton next month with Paris, Texas. But that was a nice moment in that brief moment where he's, like, calling out to his brother and nobody's coming, and it's like, oh no, like, did he come all this way and his brother's not there? His brother died, whatever, and then the relief you feel when he finally comes out.
And Harry Dean Stanton's only in the film for, like, maybe 5 minutes, but he genuinely gives a fantastic performance in those 5 minutes.
I think it's also pretty impressive. Like, you feel the journey, like, while watching it. Like, some, like, travel movies, like, sometimes you just don't feel the length, like, of what you don't know how to like relate to their travel because you're not doing it. But this one, you feel it because you're with them the entire time. There's no cutaways. So when he finally gets there, it's like a sense of relief, but then it's also like that brotherly moment that he traveled all that way to talk to him to fix whatever before it was too late. I think that's what sends it over the moon for me. Okay. We'll get scores. Scott, it's a 5, I'm assuming.
It's a 5, yeah. No, of all this was a first time watch for me last year, and this was number 2 on my first time watches last year. Girlfriends was the only movie I put higher, and I already brought that on the round table. So,
oh man, what totally different for me.
Yeah.
On that movie, pacing.
Once again, I can't get over how just, like, whiplash it felt of seeing Walt Disney Pictures Presents, a film by David Lynch.
The film by David Lynch.
Phenomenal film, 4.5 stars.
Bar.
Yeah, it's very heartwarming, and yeah, it's such a charming film. 4 stars.
Okay. I'm also at 4 stars. That was really good. I think it could go up even higher on rewatches, but initially, right out of the gate, I think it's right on that level. Okay. Let's pull off the Band-Aid. This movie fucking sucks. I hate everything about these the Last Dragon. Last Dragon, 1995. It's just not this is no shot in hell of ever being my kind of movie. I have never seen a Bruce Lee movie, but I would rather watch the Bruce Lee movies that they kept showing in this than what we were watching on screen. And I think that's the bit, right? I think that's the bit. It's supposed to be this way. If it's supposed to be this way, I don't want to be in it as long as I am forced to be in it. Terrible acting. Again, think that's the point. I hope that's the point. And this is going to sound really rude. Movies like this, I just wish they found like a children's hospital or an animal shelter or something and just donated the money that they were going to spend on these movies and give it to a good cause instead of the fucking hell that these, like, there are people that probably watch this and now have to be in therapy for how bad it is. No, I'm just kidding. But overall, I don't like martial art movies, for one. Not a big fan. Never have been. I think it's skills. Like don't get me wrong. I think what you can do, like, that's crazy. I just don't find it entertaining. So that's what I'm going to say on this movie before saying anything else. And if you guys spark an interest in my brain, like, oh yeah, that was stupid too, I'll jump back in. But you guys can talk about it. Anybody see this movie prior?
I've only heard about it.
Should have stayed there.
Quick. This is a movie I hesitate to call good, but I can't deny and say that I didn't have a blast while watching this movie. Everything Cody said was completely accurate. I'm gonna pull up the lead actor's name. Whoever plays Leroy in this movie, awful. Like, one of the worst performances I've ever seen on screen. Like, every single line he's
he literally flubs lines multiple times in the movie, and they don't fix it. They didn't fix it. He's like, he messes up the line.
And every line, he is talking about the spirit of his master. I am the true leader and who will defeat the Shogun of Harlem. Like, everything he says is just so much fun. Like, having, like, the Shogun of Harlem is one of the weirdest villains I've seen in movies in a long time, of just this black gang leader who's also, like, super into like ninja skills. I just loved that romance the romance that Leroy has with the singer, and now it has to bring in like the singer's like awful career manager. I was like, what is this ridiculous shit? But I can't deny that I had fun. Here's the thing, I want to go higher, but then I think of a movie like Big Trouble in Little China that I think does this type of concept like way better. And
absolutely.
And here's the thing, knowing how I think that movie is a masterpiece and knowing how Cody's like, it's good, knowing that I'm just like, yeah, this movie is fine, I can only imagine how much you probably despised your time while watching this movie.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was trying to think of a comparison in my head that did this. It's Big Trouble. It is 100% Big Trouble, because they do this kind of movie, but like they do it well. It's still not like my favorite thing of all time, but like this one is just like over the top. And that when that villain shows up like in the theater the first time, I said, this just can't be real what we're doing here. And their theater etiquette, that already just pissed me off, because everybody's just sitting there watching the movie, and these two people start getting up and put a boombox down and start playing. I was like, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail right now. Like, it's crazy. I'm curious what Scott had.
So I had not heard of this movie when Jake submitted it. I was like, oh no, this is going to be Surf Ninjas Part 2. I don't know if anybody's seen Surf Ninjas here, but it was emitting the same vibes for me. Surf Ninjas is terrible. Do not watch it. This movie has a certain amount of charm to it. I mean, I do have to say that it does. It definitely is in that so bad it's good camp, but like it's knowing enough to where like I can just kind of enjoy it for what it is. I think the idea of combining a blaxploitation movie with a martial arts movie is kind of unique. I mean, I think that adds a different spin on things, and I do think. I mean, say whatever you want about Sho'nuff, about Julius Carey, but he's not boring, right? Like when he's on screen, like it's funny to watch. And yeah, the dynamic between Leroy and the singer, the female character, is pretty funny. I mean, he could not be more clueless. Like the whole like, oh, if you wanted to, my friend wants to learn some moves or whatever, and she's like, oh, I'd love to show you some moves. He's like, no, this is not me. This is my friend. I'm like, come on, man. Like, it's so obvious. It's right there. But I have to bring it back for the big moment at the end. I do think the martial arts action was a little bit of a letdown because there's not really very much outside of just hand-to-hand combat. Like, I want to see, if I'm watching a martial arts movie, I want to see some more, like, I don't know, people jumping around, flying, doing crazy flips and stunts and stuff like that. And I mean, this was probably not the movie for that anyway, but I kind of got a little bored at times during the action scenes, which you probably shouldn't be happening during a martial arts movie. But I mean, I wasn't bored again. And the music videos, like, well, the music, first of all, is pretty great in the whole movie. Very Gordy. Yeah, but then the music videos were hilarious too, like the bad music videos that the guy, the producer, the arcade guy or whatever is trying to promote on the TV show. Pretty funny. So I did not hate myself watching this. I mean, I'm never going to watch it again. I would not say it's a great movie or anything, but I don't think Jake would probably say it's a great movie either. I think it's just a movie that if you can get on its wavelength, like, you can have a fun time with it. So this movie is not a classic, but it's not. It does have an amount of charm, which I can acknowledge.
Like, I can definitely say, like, Jake just has a lot of fun with this movie, I think, is where it boils down to it. Like, he finds this funny. And I can do Mark really quick. Like, I don't know. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird, but it was fun. Like, I don't know, man. It's fun. Yeah. Bar. This is how many 5 stars you got right now? I want to make a bet right now.
Me?
Yeah, this is going to break number 14?
I want to say it's something like 15. Something like that.
Yeah. It's number 16. Here comes the last dragon.
No, fuck this movie. This is a movie that I should really love. Like, it does. Like, I do like a lot of, like, movies that are so bad that they're good. God, I could not stand watching this one, though. This one just really does not work for me. The only thing I liked was Julius Carry as Show Enough, because that dude knew what movie he was in. But, like, I hated the main character from the word go. Like, the moment that he opened his mouth, I'm like, you are a whiny, mealy mouth, miserable person. And I could not care for him throughout this entire film. I think, first of all, some of the Asian characters in this film, I was kind of insulted for some of them. Real rough, especially, like, his, like, master, like, there's this whole weird bit about, like, some underwater creature in the main villain's lair, and that goes absolutely nowhere. The action scenes are just real boring. I know some people, not a lot of people, but I know some people who are like, man, you know what time period I miss? The fucking 80s. And I watch this movie and I go, I never want to go back to this decade. We made terrible mistakes that we have course corrected.
Arguably the worst, like, one of the worst decades of film. Like, I want to stand by it. It's one of the worst.
Yeah.
And it's got, like, so much nostalgia on it. It's bad. It's there are highs of the 80s. There are so many bads. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. There are, but I think that's every decade, though.
But, like, even I'm looking at the fashion and I'm like, ugh. It was weird seeing William H. Macy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One scene, yeah.
That was crazy. him and Mike Starr. I'm like, what are you two doing in this movie? Yeah, so like I liked Shonuff because he was once again the only person who seemed to know what movie he was in. But God, it should have been up my alley, and it really was not.
Yeah, it's just again, I think like over the top, like it knows exactly what it's doing. It doesn't try to be anymore. It's just goes right off a cliff. As much as I thought I would hate a straight story, this is like I knew I was going to hate this, and it did not disappoint. So anything else on Laughter? I don't want to cut you guys early if you guys have some great moments. I will say, like the overall character, the villain, like he's way more entertaining than anybody else that shows up on screen. Like he's not the problem. He knows what movie he's in. The rest of them just don't know what movie they're in, like at all. Like or they're really bad.
Do you think that's true though? Do you really think they don't know what movie they're in? Like I think that everyone's on the same wavelength.
I think some of them need to ham. I think some of them need to ham it up more. The problem is, I think some of them fall completely flat. Like when he's going so crazy, I think the rest of them just don't like match his energy. I don't think that would help it. It's like like we always say, like bring back like the Power Rangers movie that Mark brought on. Like Elizabeth Banks thinks she's in the '90s cartoon of Power Rangers, not this.
But
he knows what he's in. The rest of them just are like subdued. I think
the lead guy being so wooden adds to it, though, right? Like I feel like it's a knowing decision. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't realize that he's bad, but the filmmakers certainly do.
One other thing I want to bring up because I just remembered. This has one of my most hated characters I've ever seen in any film ever, and it's that fucking little brother.
Oh no!
I wanted to slap this kid. I know that legally I probably shouldn't, but every time he opened his goddamn mouth, I wanted to just slap that kid.
He just wants his brother to get a girl. Like
No. This kid is incelling over the girl that his brother has, and then he gets so fucking pissy when she likes his brother.
Okay. I'll start. 1 star. Enters that bottom rare air of 1 stars on the show. Or again, I had to have a conversation. Like I know Poggy Beach is bad.
Come on, this is not in the same sentence as Poggy Beach. No.
I think what helps this is I think this was made by somebody that knew how to hold a camera. Yeah. Poggy Beach did not, so I think that's the difference. So I'm what, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, considering that we watched Poggy Beach, Idle Hands, I don't know. There's a few others in there that are just completely without joy. Completely without joy. This movie has its charms, and maybe it's the round table bump, but I give it 3 stars. So.
Yeah,
Scott.
Well, I'll save Scott because I'm going higher. I'm going 3.5. I had a lot of fun with this movie. Look, this movie's kind of tailor-made for me. I once again, I can't say like it's excellent, and I absolutely see the flaws. But Shogun of Harlem, I know who I'm going to be for Halloween this year. So yeah.
Maybe not.
Don't take that out of context. Don't take that out of context.
Too late.
If I see like the Oscar picture and you're in there standing there in blackface, I swear.
Cody, this might be the first time you have to edit one of these episodes.
Scrub the history.
Tim, whoever edits this, yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to do that. There, talk me out of it.
Batman and Robin, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. 2 films that are awful, but I genuinely love, but still gave 1 star to. This still gets 1 star, but it does not join that pantheon.
wait a minute. You actually enjoy Batman and Robin and you give it 1 star?
I do. I get so. No, it's a bad movie.
I enjoy
joy.
Batman and Robin too, but I just simply give it a heart on Letterboxd because it defies star ratings. But
Respect. It's awful, but respect.
The Batman credit card. All right. Next up is Oldboy. Reason why I put it here is not because I thought it was going to be like ripped apart. I think it just can create the most discussion. I'll save my stuff for the end. So who else will take it? Has everybody saw this movie prior?
I actually had not.
Never.
Okay, so all 3 of us are brand new with it. So overall thoughts on Oldboy.
Can I say what? Can I start?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's really funny, Cody. I know you talked about this on your YLS, where like you're weirdly kind of like grossed out at yourself how much you love Prisoners. Like, isn't that a quote you've said? Like, you feel weird how much women. That is me with Oldboy. Like, this is one of the most like disgusting and deranged movies when you really get down to it. But there is just something that just keeps me coming back, and I think it is just because the direction from Park Chan-wook is so well done, and it's just so technically made in such a perfect way. In case you haven't seen it, this is a story about a guy gets kidnapped, held in a hotel room for 15 years, and then mysteriously let out. And he's told by his kidnappers, try to figure out why you were taken. And what ensues is, to me, maybe the greatest revenge story of all time. I think the actor who plays Odaisu, Cho Mik-soo, is absolutely incredible. It's based off a Korean graphic novel, even though like the big thing that everyone knows about this movie, spoiler alert, we're going to be spoiling the hell out of this movie. I think something that I found so effective the first time I watched this is like I knew the twist of The Usual Suspects. I knew the twist of Fight Club. I had no idea what the big twist of this movie was, except for the fact that there was a big twist. And when that scene where you learn what the villain did to Odaisu, I think is just so perfect. I think the ending is one of the most haunting things in the world. I could get on and on about this movie, but I want to open it up to people.
Yeah, it was strange that I'd never seen this before because I am a big Park Chan-wook fan. In fact, I brought one of his movies on the round table a long time ago. I brought The Handmaiden. But I haven't seen any of the Vengeance trilogy, actually. So I thank Payson for bringing this because I actually come at it from a different perspective, which is I did know the twist.
Okay.
I mean, I knew like some of the big moments. Like I know about eating the live octopus. I know about, again, the sort of the big reveal there. But still, like when he is opening that picture book, and you know what he's about to see in there, it doesn't diminish it at all for me. I think this movie is an absolute thrill ride, honestly. And yeah, it's deranged, it is, but Park Chan-wook is really interested in, examining sort of the darkness of the human soul and how far somebody will really go to get what they believe is right, what they believe is justice. And just the twists and turns again are amazing. The direction, the music, the corridor fight scene is like nothing I've ever seen before. Absolutely mind blowing.
That's just Daredevil.
Stop.
Yeah.
Before Daredevil.
I loved it. I couldn't look away. Like, you want to look away, like, but it haunts you. And yeah, I do want to know what people think about the ending. Like, what do you think it was real? Do you think it was not? Like, what parts of it do you think might actually have happened? And, because it is a bit ambiguous. But it lives up to the hype for me. Like, it was an awesome movie. I don't think Park Chan-wook really misses from what I've seen, and it's just one of those you won't forget. Like it's just kind of you're watching sort of an instant classic when you're watching it.
Boy, am I glad that I watched both Paddington 2 and The Straight Story immediately after this one. I'm not gonna lie. I had heard like legendary things about this movie going into it. Um, and I also knew the twist beforehand. Usually that doesn't bother me in a film, and it didn't bother me for this one. But sometimes a movie can be so bleak that I have trouble loving it as much as I arguably should. And that's this one for me. There are some element. First of all, Park Chan Wook's direction is, I think it's fantastic. It's amazing, actually. There are some little things that like I kind of wish they did a little bit more. Like I love the one visual that they create when he's raising the hammer to the guy who's sitting in the chair, and you just see like the dots pop up. Yeah, that I like. That's the kind of shit that I love. Um, I do have some problems with the film. I think all of the performances are absolutely fantastic. Um, the two biggest gripes I have with this film are one, it's one of those villainous plots where it gets a little so convoluted where I'm like, if literally anything went wrong, this entire plan falls apart. And I kind of don't like when the movie villains are like that, where everything has to be like the most meticulous timing and like everyone just makes the exact decision that they plan. It kind of takes me out sometimes. That and I don't know. It was one of those. It's one of those nitpicky things where, like, I'm no hypnotist, but even I don't think that hypnosis works the way that it does in this film. Um, it just kind of like took. Yeah, I kind of didn't like that little plot point.
Just curious, like what you said about like this is a villain plan that where like every little thing has to go perfect. Does it help or does it hinder the fact that even as the movie is going on, the villain is like kind of like, I was not expecting this to be as easy as it was. Like, did that help or did that hurt?
No, it kind of hurts, honestly.
Okay, fair.
Because it feels like there's no real stakes for the villain. In some way where everything just magically happens the way perfectly designed. Sometimes it can work. This one kind of hurt. But the visuals, the direction, the performances, some of the scenes in particular are like, of course, the hallway scene. When the one guy who's like, I can't remember, like, he's not a landlord of the building, but he's the guy who basically runs the building. When he shows back up and he's got like the silver teeth, I was like, that was really cool. So things like that really work for me. There were just some elements that I didn't quite love, plus just the bleakness.
One other thing is that I really liked is the just sort of the forward momentum of this movie. Like this movie just it starts and like you're in, and it does not slow down for like pretty much the entire movie. Like it's just kind of hurtling forward, and I appreciated that, especially because we had a few movies on this episode that were like a little bit slowly paced. I mean, The Straight Story is a slowly paced movie. I think Bar's movie is actually pretty slowly paced as well at times, but. So it was a little bit refreshing, but I do like when a movie is like, we're not going to waste time with like, exposition or whatever in the beginning. It's like, bang, here we go. You figure it out. You know?
So, I was nervous about watching this because this one has been like raised pretty high in the film community of this movie, and it's always been hard to be able to watch because like of the viewing. Like I don't know the distribution and why it wasn't available, but that doesn't really matter. I always say like I'm not a foreign film fan, but I think what the thing is I just don't watch them. It's more than I don't watch them versus I'm not a fan because I end up liking more than I dislike. Park Chan-wook has 3 movies that I've seen. Handmade Because of Scott, Decision to Leave, which I loved, and then now Oldboy. I think this one falls right now where I'm at in the middle. I think it's right under Decision to Leave for me and right above Handmaiden. I liked it a lot. The only thing I knew from this movie is the the fight, the one shot, the hallway scene. Like that's the one thing I knew about it. Yeah, the hammer fight. I didn't know anything else.
Okay.
And I think it's something about his direction or how his storytelling plays out that he keeps me like guessing. And like I said this on the roundtable a little bit ago. Like I don't it either falls into like a trope or you're successful at doing it. There's like two things, but like leaving it up or lazy directing is what I think I said. Is when you leave it up to the audience interpretation of what you think the ending means. Like, is it just laziness on your behalf, or just following the same tropes, or are you good at it? Are you good at doing that? Park Chan-wook is good at doing it for me. Like the three movies that leave you in those question marks, like and even if they don't all leave you in the question mark, like where you have to like piece it together yourself, he does a very good job at. I understand the sicko thing from Payson. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, with the ending, I feel like it's not really important. And this is what makes it good. I think it's not really important. Right. Oh, did it actually happen? Did it not? Or whatever. It's like, what does it mean? Right. Like the fact that he would make this choice, right? That he would rather erase, his knowledge of all this information and, just so he could have the love of, I don't even remember what her name is. Suwa, I think is her name. Or, he would rather do that than live with the reality of, with his tongue cut out, by the way, he would rather do that than live with the reality of, what he has done. I mean, and it wants you to pour over what your personal feelings are about. Did he make the right decision? Is there a right decision? What is the moral way out here, if there is one?
Yeah. So overall, when I watched the movie, the bleakness and everything for it doesn't, like, for Bar, I can see that being a problem for Bar. I didn't have any issue with that. I really enjoyed where it was going, like everything about it. It's brutal at parts. It's the revenge story. I'm with Scott. I like the constant just go out of the it just goes and doesn't really stop. Basically like when he feels like the elevator scene when he's like finally did what he set out to do and like takes his life. I think that was just like great storytelling where they're able to tell. And then we can just talk about at the ending, like what the steps, what back, or if you'll know it better than me, Payson, but like the movement or whatever is either the monster or the however, and it's in the like he's in the direction of where that would be, right, of the monster. Like so that's where it's like left to your, but if it's a dream or not. I think it's just a brilliant way to end this movie because, like, and Scott said it best. Like, I don't think it really matters in the end of the day. It's like where you interpret it and where you leave it. I think that's where it's really good. But I think it's a fantastic way to end this movie because I don't know. That was the one thing I was struggling with by watching this is like, where's the ending come? Like, I feel like this movie could be like 100 out of 100, but the ending gets blood, like, and you're just. It loses everything for me. Like if they made the ending bad, I just don't think this movie it pays off as well as it does. So, yeah, I thought the ending was absolutely brilliant of where he does it. Yeah, it's a director that I'm curious. Whatever this man, he's still making films, I'm guessing. But he's just like I'm fully on board for whatever he comes out with next because I think he's absolutely a crazy person. I think he's crazy. I think something's not perfectly right with him. He's nuts, but I like it.
If you hear him talk in interviews, this man has such a negative outlook on humanity, and I think that comes across in every single
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, nobody else is making movies like him, and this is the type of thing. If you don't watch international cinema, you'll never discover like filmmakers like him and the stuff that he's doing and again, just sort of the revolutionary place that he occupies. Like, you have to go out there and engage with cinema of other countries. Like, who cares if it has subtitles or not? The one thing I will say to Bar's point, maybe the hypnosis is like a little bit of a deus ex machina, if you will, to sort of explain, it to sort of bridge this gap that they need in the villain's plot. But I just don't even care too much because it's still just so like mesmerizing watching the whole, like, how they did it, right? Like, he's gonna walk into this restaurant and she's gonna say this line to him, and then he's gonna respond like this, and just like the way that they, down to the line of dialogue or whatever, the way that they choreographed every single part of the hypnosis or whatever. It's like, whatever. I'm just on the ride. I'm on the roller coaster. I'm not getting off now.
No, that's like part of that. Sorry, just real fast. That's part of the perfect like villain plot thing for me. It's like if he phrases one of those hypnotic suggestions just slightly, like the whole thing falls apart, because when he says this exact line, this happens. But if he just like changes a word or like a phrasing of it, it just like completely disintegrates.
Yeah, for me, like these are things that people have said about the Joker and the Dark Knight or Silva and Skyfall. I still love those movies, even though the villain's plans are insanely convoluted. But I understand if it just doesn't work for you. The one nitpick I have with this movie, and it is such a small nitpick, but it's just something that I always just find funny, when you learn that Odaisu, the main character, and Lee Woo-jin, the villain, went to high school together, and you see these two people now, it is kind of hilarious, because it would be the equivalent of saying that like Kirk and Koho went to high school together, considering how much younger the villain looks as opposed to Odaisu. Like they try to.
That's what money will do, baby.
And it is kind of wild that it takes him a little bit to. I mean, I guess maybe it's just because he's been in the prison for 15 years or whatever. That it takes him a little bit to remember this whole like pretty big incident, right? That he witnessed when he was a kid. Yeah.
My guess is probably the hypnosis probably had something with it, like get that out of his mind. But just like the little clues you start getting, like when the computer guy just starts insulting Lee Woo-jin's sister, and he just gets out of his chair and just beating the shit out of him, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy who's been so like careful and like concise, like, but like the second you hit this like this touchy moment of his past, it just goes straight for him. And yeah, like one, like I've said, like if I were to say like what are my favorite movie scenes of all time, that final penthouse scene, like when he opens the first page of that book and he sees the family and he just closes his eyes. When I first saw this, I legit just stood up from my couch with my hands on my mouth. Like, are we really doing this? Like, did he just fuck his daughter? And yeah, you learn, yes, he did fuck his daughter. But yeah, like the ending of the movie, I think that's just what's so disturbing about the movie is like, regardless as to whether or not the hypnosis works, like the guy is making the choice of like, look, I guess I just gotta keep being in a relationship with my daughter. Like, I think that's just so messed up. And I think that face he makes towards the end, I think the hypnosis didn't completely work. And you're very clearly saying like there's a part of him that is never going to be able to get away from this. And if you three have ever wondered like what is Payson's profile on Letterboxd, this is the weirdest photo ever. Now you get what my Letterboxd profile is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are muted.
You are muted.
Oh, okay. He said he did F his daughter, and I was like, yeah, put that on a t-shirt. Glad I meant it muted, because I was like, what a random, just, I'm glad there's ways to dance around that topic without just blatantly that.
Let's just say,
Payson, what's your score?
5 stars. Real quick, I just want to say one last thing. I don't think people talk about just how funny this movie is. The moment that always makes me laugh is when we get through, like, I guess, like, the opening prologue where he's telling his story about, like, what happened, and then the guy on the building is like, man, that sucks. All right, I want to tell the story of why I'm here. And he just stands up and leaves. Like, he just does not care. And he's like, it's time for me to get revenge. I just find that really funny.
Fair. You give it 5?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Scott.
I gave it 4.5. I mean, it probably will. It could go up. I definitely put it above Thirst right now, and then it's somewhere in the equation with The Handmaiden and Decision to Leave. I think they're all really high up there for me, so it's tough to say. But I mean, you have 3 incredible movies there, and I want to watch the rest of the Vengeance trilogy now.
They're all really good.
Get around to completing. I guess I've got to watch Stoker also. But.
Bar. 5 stars?
No, it's not 5 stars. And I double checked. It is 24 films.
Wow.
4 stars.
24. Oh.
And 1 TV movie.
How you talked about it?
The light.
You have a TV movie on
It's a Charlie Brown. It's a Charlie Brown.
Camp Rock.
Charlie Brown Christmas. That's fair. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Dead to me. Dead to me. Okay.
I may as well be 24 feet underground with you at this point.
Facts. 4.5. I think I put it right under Decision to Leave right now, but again, they're tied at the score, so who knows? Okay, we are going to A Soldier Story.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody see this besides me and Bar?
Right now.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. I'm curious what these two think before me and Bar speak. So, what are your guys' takes on a first-time watch of this film?
Yeah. If you're okay with me going first, Scott, can I?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
I hadn't really. I think I'd vaguely heard of this movie beforehand. I think I heard the title. I didn't really know anything about it. But yeah, watching it, I thought honestly it was just a really, really well done drama. I guess the best explanation I could say is like, think A Few Good Men if you never went to like a separate court in A Few Good Men and it stayed on the army base. And that's how I would personally describe this movie. I think the whole cast is really good. Obviously Howard Rollins is the main character, but I think that like supporting cast of like these actors that like we're just meeting for like recently, like this is a very early Denzel Washington role. He's great. David Alan Greer's in this. Robert Townsend is in this. I think they're really good. And yeah, I think it's just a really great movie about like doing what's right when like all the pressure is on you. Seeing this, like, this is directed by Norman Jewison, who is a director I like. At the same time, watching this movie, I understand why, when it was announced that he was going to be the director of Malcolm X in the 90s, why Spike Lee was very, very upset. And then Norman Jewison dropped out and Spike Lee was the one to direct. It's like, yeah, we probably needed someone like Spike Lee with that voice doing that type of movie. But yeah, I this was a really well done movie. Scott, you looked upset at what I was saying. So,
well, I mean, you're evoking the name of my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, it's not as good as that movie, but it's still very
good. No, I mean, I was kind of just joking around, but yeah, I mean, so I had only heard of this movie because I knew it was an early Denzel Washington role. I think Norman Jewison, like, he's made some good movies. Like, I enjoy, like, The Hurricane. I actually really like a lot. I don't know whether it's whether it's an amazing movie, but it is an amazing Denzel performance. But other movies, like, I think In the Heat of the Night is overrated, like I do. But I just think he's a very sort of down the middle director, right? Like, I don't ever really feel excited watching one of his movies unless it's like The Hurricane and you have like Denzel Washington doing, this sort of amazing performance at times. And I think that proves true in this movie. I mean, I do think there's some interesting ideas. I do think there's interesting ideas that are somewhat explored in the movie. I mean, the different sort, like the tension between the black soldiers and the way that they view each other. I mean, Adolf Caesar's character sort of like looking down upon the Southern black soldiers as being like, oh, you're just fulfilling the stereotypes of what white people think that black people are. And, you need to, overcome that, you need to act more like an upper class person, maybe more like a white person, possibly. That's probably what Denzel Washington would say. But yeah, and then you have the people on the other side, like Denzel Washington, who are sort of averse to this idea, but the way that they choose to go about their ideology is, by taking revenge, if you will, upon Adolf Caesar's character. And obviously, there's the suggestion at the end that is certainly not the right way to deal with the issue either. I think one of the problems with the movie, though, is it does move pretty slowly. And I don't actually love the framing device of Howard Rollins' character, like investigating this murder or whatever. First of all, I didn't really care about his character that much. I didn't think his performance was super compelling for me. I think I would have just rather seen a drama about the soldiers themselves. And like, again, some of the stuff that is compelling in the movie is, the way that Adolf Caesar interacts with, these other characters and Denzel Washington and the rest of the men in his sort of unit, and playing around with, some ideas about African Americans in war that, don't get depicted a lot. Like, a movie like Glory, I feel like doesn't really touch on these issues. It's kind of interested in doing something different. I just think that it's a little bit, the direction is just kind of pedestrian, and like the movie just kind of crawls along a little bit at times. Like, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I think that the framing device was probably not the best choice. It's not a failure of a movie, but like, to me, I kind of got what I expected just looking at this movie on paper, looking who's involved. I think it's, a perfectly adequate movie, but it didn't get me excited like watching, Oldboy or something like that. It's a very different type of movie, but it did not get the blood pumping really. And I do wish that they had not really used that framing device.
I love. A Few Good Men was brought up. Scott had a reaction. Payson didn't mean anything by it. I have known one man in this community to be, if there was a person that waves the flag for Norman Jewison harder than Andrew James Barr, I don't know him yet.
Boy, director, what the hell?
The man loves him some Norman Jewison. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let Barr rebut because he was having a visceral reaction.
First of all, I don't understand how you can say Norman Jewison is a pedestrian, middle of the road director. Like almost every film I've seen him do, I love Fiddler on the Roof and Justice for All, the Thomas Crown Affair, even Moonstruck, which I don't love. Like, yeah. And also, how I think Howard Rollins. I'm so sad that Howard Rollins' life ended up the way it did, because I've seen him in only 2 films, this one and Ragtime, and I think that he was an amazing actor. God, there were some moments in this film that I just think are so fucking good. Like, the one scene in particular that I always go back to is the scene where Adolf Caesar's character is talking about this one guy that he knew from the army, and everything just kind of like slowly starts to like strip away, and it's just him in like the darkness as he's talking about this, and like as he's finishing up, like everyone and like the set is like sliding back into place as well. It was just such a great visual moment on top of a fantastic performance of a monologue. I think Adolf Caesar's character is just such a fascinating character in general. Like, I think the story is more of a character piece on that role necessarily than it is like a legal drama, which it definitely is, but I think it's more of an in-depth character piece. And I just really think that it works incredibly well. I think that there are some other elements, like when he's visiting the one character that's held in the brig, like that whole subplot of him just purposefully getting him thrown in jail is such a crazy thing. And it's just so heartbreaking when you see the guy sitting in prison, because he's like, he did nothing wrong. He knows that he did nothing wrong, but he cannot fathom why he's in there. And it's so wretching when you see that. I think a lot of the performances are great. You can tell, even if you didn't know where Denzel's career was going to go after this film, you knew that man was a star when you watched this film. I think that the way that the pieces all start to come together is really great. The one scene where he's like interrogating the two white guys in the pool hall is really, really tense, but like really well done. Even if the one guy, I will say, is overacting just like a little bit. The dynamic that he has between Howard Rollins' character, between him and his like superior officer on the base, and like the way that his superior officer kind of breaks down how things work in that town. It really puts like this world and this life into perspective in that particular setting. I've seen this movie twice now, and it gets better for me on rewatch. I love this film. Plus, it's got Patti LaBelle, so.
Man, I kind of wish. So I watched this movie prior. Sadly, it did go down on rewatch. Overall, I wish the movie had the same amount of passion. The passion that you just showed, I wish that this movie kind of had that. Because it does feel a little bit like, I don't know. I feel disconnected from this a little bit more. I always say like it's the Denzel effect when he's in a movie. I'm like, yeah, it's 3 stars to start. Where we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, I felt a little disconnected from it this time. A little, and I like Norman Jewison. I will not speak like Scott. I think Norman Jewison is a great director. I haven't seen everything, so In the Heat of the Night is overrated. We'll stand by that one. That was not great, but overall, yeah, I just don't know what it was on the second watch that I just didn't love it as much as I loved the first time. Not a bad movie. It just didn't move. Nominated for Best Picture, and I think I just think it's crazy. Like this movie is directed by Norman Jewison, and starring Denzel, and like I never heard of it until you brought it up to me, until I looked at Denzel's filmography when I was going through that. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, I don't know, just missing something, I guess. Sorry, Buck.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean that was respectful.
Price of the round table. The price of the round table. When you bring something on that you think everybody's gonna like, and people start slicing and dicing. And Scott didn't even say anything really rude. He just, maybe boring director was rude to you. Anything else on this movie? I don't want to cut anybody.
I think I'm good.
It kind of felt also, this is going to be disrespectful. It feels like a TV movie.
I wasn't going to say it, but
it feels.
It's the play. It's the play aspect. I think a lot of play adaptations just feel that way, because it's like, oh, you got a limited budget, people in a couple of rooms just talking. Nominated for Best Picture is kind of crazy, but
my score. Fuck you. It's 4.5.
There are many worse movies that have been nominated for Best Picture, though. Let me say that there are many worse movies.
There are worse ones that have won.
Have won.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
It went up for me 4.5.
Better racial dynamics than Green Book.
I really like. I'm gonna give it 4 stars.
3.5. Yeah, I dropped.
Oh, fair. Yours
is 4.
Yeah, no. For me, it's 4. I really like it, but yeah, like what Scott said, I don't get the Best Picture nomination, especially when movies like Amadeus and This Is Spinal Tap came out that year, which are masterpieces.
1984 is just a crazy good year for films.
At least Amadeus won. 3 stars.
Could you imagine?
It's a fine movie. Like I'm not like upset that I watched it or anything, but I think it's pretty forgettable in the end.
Like, could you imagine if this one and Amadeus lost? Like that one might be the.
Well, you know what?
That might be the biggest
one and
discrepancy.
Roma lost, so.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I knew you would say that for sure. Yeah.
Let's
if you turn Roma on at night, it's a really good thing to fall asleep to.
Let's word it correctly. Green Book won and The Favorite lost is the crazy thing there. Like, there you go.
Yes.
The Favorite is
that's true.
Yeah. The Favorite fucking rocks.
Okay. Okay. Last movie should be pretty quick discussion, I would assume. But we'll see. It's Paddington 2. Mark's not here. Really weird pick for Mark. I've known Mark a really long time. He just always tends to surprise me. This movie's just absolutely delightful. Movies that I try to capture with my kids that them understand like the movie magic thing. These 2 movies like do that for them, which is so they're special in that regard. To see them light up from a CGI bear and like bright color, like how they're able to present this is just, I think, unmatched. I think it's really good. I know Kirk like gets angry because the community gets too crazy about these movies, but I mean, delightful is like is a category, but like if it's just like nothing drawing back, I'm entertained the same as my 6-year-old is entertained. That's something a movie is. That's a hard thing for a movie to do. And those kitchen scenes, that's just the main point that I'll take away of him and who's that actor?
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah,
are just like some of the making marmalade, just entertaining. And yeah, if my Wes Anderson thing you thought was a shot, it's really not. That entire kitchen sequence is directly from like a. Yeah,
that's not the scene I thought you were.
But
that's not the scene I thought you were going to talk about.
Oh, there's more. There's more. It's just like if Wes Anderson did a prison like this, it looks like a direct scene that would be in the Wes Anderson.
I mean, the prison clothes I feel like look very similar to the prison clothes from the Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
I guess that's just prison clothes, probably. But I don't know. It's something about the colors.
For me, it was
how it's shot. I guess very delightful, super enjoyable, great. The first one and this are perfect pairs to each other. I have nothing else to say. Great movie. What does everybody else think on Paddington 2?
So this was a first-time watch for me. I had never seen the film before.
Oh.
Well, I also had never seen the first Paddington, I think, until like
I still haven't, but I've seen this one twice.
Very good.
That is crazy.
I don't know.
Scott, I think you and I just became friends again.
I've also only seen How to Train Your Dragon 2, so.
Okay.
Don't ask.
Yeah, don't do the first one. It's completely reverse of what the first one is. So. They hate dragons in that one.
I thought that this movie was so delightful. There's just something. There is a like a tongue-in-cheek silliness that this movie is like. We know it's a talking bear, but trust us. And it like treats the audience like in a way that it's like we're gonna hold your hand, but when it comes to like this tongue-in-cheek silliness, but we're not gonna like pull you along. We're gonna trust you. and I think that just really was so charming. Oh my god, it's okay. I'm gonna say something that I feel like some people will like completely understand when I say this, and some people will be so confused and maybe angry. The ending of this movie reminds me so much of It's a Wonderful Life, and it hits me emotionally in a very similar way. Um, where when Paddington just is holding Aunt Lucy and he says, "Happy birthday, Aunt Lucy," I was like, "Why are my cheeks wet?" Like, like it was so moving.
It's a Wonderful Life.
The way that the whole like block comes together, and basically, for like a celebration of Paddington, and all of them getting together to do something special for him because of how much they all love him. Like that's how it reminds me of the ending of It's a Wonderful Life. Hugh Grant could have been the silliest, most over the top villain, but just the way he kept slipping into all the characters that he's done in the past was really good. Oh my god. Miss Bird delivers this one line about actors about being like the most evil and sinister people ever, and as one I was like, she is 100% correct. Yeah, the only two problems that I have with the film, and they are nitpicks. Like I will admit, they are nitpicks. Is I think the barber scene goes on just a little bit too long, and the whole J-Dog subplot with like the brother character just kind of goes absolutely nowhere. It's kind of pointless. Doesn't really add too much. They don't go in depth enough for me to actually like think that plot line it wasn't left dangling in a way. But otherwise, like visually, just like so delightful. The prison escape scene is just a lot of fun and very creative. Yeah, this movie caught me in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Mark for picking a really good movie, but there's almost not that much interesting to say about it just because everyone loves this movie. And I feel like everyone kind of agrees about why. It's just so sincere, right? I think that's what I like about it. There's not a cynical moment in this movie. Every character, they see the best in every character, which is one of my favorite types of movies, right? When you see the best in every character, and it just has such a positive, whimsical attitude about everything. It's the type of movie that you wish there were more of, probably. I know a lot of people have this as like one of their comfort movies. Like I totally get it. It's not quite that for me because I don't think I ever get to that point of my cheeks are wet, like Bar is saying. Like I will if I watch like Little Women or Mamma Mia, here we go again, right? Like those scenes come for me. So like those are the movies that I go back to, and I don't think because I like feeling things, and I don't know that I feel like this range of emotion in Paddington. I think it's just the Paddington 2. I think it's just the whole time. It's just wow, this is so much fun, right? Like. Just making this face the whole time. But Hugh Grant, I mean, it's the most obvious casting ever. I feel like to put him in this, like it's just there's never been like a more Hugh Grant coded movie than this. And so
you haven't seen The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill and Came Down a Mountain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Wonka, it's like the same sort of thing. Last year, it's like, oh yeah, of course Hugh Grant is in this.
Genuinely, really, really fun in Wonka.
Wonka was very enjoyable, but similar type of movie. Yeah, I mean, he's great. Brendan Gleeson is probably the standout in the supporting cast, though. As the cook, he's a delight. Ben Whishaw does, perfect voice work as Paddington. There's not much interesting to say. It's Paddington 2. Everyone loves it for a reason, and I probably should watch the first one at some point. But I'm looking forward to Paddington 3 if we ever get it.
Yeah, I think we are getting it. next year. Paddington in Peru.
Okay, is it next year? Yeah, I mean, I know that one has been in the works.
I kind of don't want it.
Here's the thing with Paul King not directing it, I'm like, I think his voice to this movie, like, I think the guy kind of has a Midas touch when it comes to family movies with this and with Wonka, which I thought looked garbage from the trailers, and then it came out and I was like, this is actually pretty good. But we're talking about Paddington 2. Yeah, like Scott said, it's just about the biggest ball of joy I think you could possibly have. Hugh Grant is so much fun as the villain. Like, there's a reason why people wanted him to get nominated for an Oscar the year this came out, because he is just so fun. Yeah, I think it's probably exaggerating there, but I do think he is really fun. The character of Knuckles is so much fun because, like, you often remember as I'm watching this movie, like, this man has probably murdered many women and children, but we love him with his relationship with this little bear, and that's the whole prison. Like, these people are awful, just monsters that have committed some of the most heinous acts on innocent people, but we still end up cheering for them because Paddington just he just has this, like, magnetic aura to himself that he can get good people on his side, except for the one racist neighbor played by Peter Capaldi, who, like, whatever he does, he's immediately profiling Paddington in every single thing he does, and you're like, man, just shut up. Like, Paddington is such a perfect boy. The climax of this film, where, like, everything that was set up about this family with, like, the son loving trains, the dad being really good at the ring toss, Sally Hawkins being an excellent diver, everything coming back in the climax, I think was really, really great foreshadowing. And just the last thing I just want to say about just how effective this movie is. So compared to a movie that I know Cody and Bars watched for this show, that I saw in theaters, maybe Scott watched this movie in theaters because we're around the same age. Compare this movie to Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties.
No.
That is a movie that is a family film that is just the bottom of the barrel, just going for just lazy fart jokes, like, in references. The reason why I think this movie works is because it doesn't have that. It's entertaining the kids, but it doesn't try to, like, appeal to the lowest common denominator. And that's why I think this movie is just so surprising as to how good it is.
I just want to say real quick.
No. Cut off. Go ahead.
Sally Hawkins is, like, been quietly one of my favorite actresses, and there's just something about her performance.
Why are you so silent about
it? Because okay, that's fair.
Speak up.
I love her as an actress. I think that she brings such a sincerity to all the characters that I've ever seen her perform. Even in Godzilla, I really liked her. And her performance in this movie and in, like, the first Paddington film are just so great. There's, like, a sense there's a sense of urgency that you can feel, like, when she's, like, trying to, like, get everything that she can in order to get Paddington out. I love Sally Hawkins as an actress.
Yeah, go fucking Godzilla. Let's go. Okay,
movie's not great.
Ratings.
Yeah.
Mark's not here. I don't know what his rating would be, but I'm at 4 stars. Scott.
4.5. Great. Amazing.
5 stars.
Payson.
5 stars. Absolutely wonderful. Better than Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Takes a lot to beat that movie. And Bar. I love her, but quietly.
I've been debating this one all day. Happy birthday, Mark. Number 25. That's 5 stars for me.
But it would have been better if Norman Jewison directed it.
If Norman
You gave it 5 stars?
5 stars.
So you just decided to start uncapping the 5 stars and just start handing them to people now.
I mean, it's Paddington too. Okay, I don't
You
think it's
gave-
a crazy.
You
one to
gave
say 5 stars.
no. He gave the Godfather. He gave the Godfather 4.5 because he fell
Okay,
asleep during.
well,
That's not.
all right.
Okay.
Never mind.
No, the Godfather's at 5 stars.
Oh, okay.
It was, but the rating you gave was 4.5.
Is The Godfather Part 2 at 5 stars?
That's at 4.5. Look, I think that this movie does exactly what it wants to do, and it does it in a way that succeeds in just about every level.
I respect it.
Okay. All right. That's a show. Thank you all for being on. Thank you to the 3 that showed up. We'll miss the other 2. Next, there will be one that we'll probably miss next month. Who knows who it will be, but there's always one. But we got a great list. Hopefully Dylan doesn't screw it up too bad with a terrible movie. But we will see you next month. Bye-bye.